Now, the last thing, so that's our finished product. It's ready to go. Dave's given it the tick of approval. Let's upload it. So now is about getting it back out of the editing software. Now, this is where, the kind of minefield can begin. It's really easy with iMovie, though, to get footage out and then get it up there. So what we do, we go to Share. Now, you have a bunch of choices. You've got Export Movie. You can go to YouTube. You can go straight to YouTube, and it'll ask you what size you want to do and things like that. You can also export it using QuickTime, so into a QuickTime movie file. Generally, what we do is just do Export Movie, and it comes out as an M4V, which will play in iTunes. Now, and then we go and convert it in other software. Ultimately, I think if you're just using this, I would go and export it using QuickTime. Now, the reason I wouldn't go straight to YouTube is because you never know how many applications you want for this video. YouTube is one thing. When I make videos, I record it in the highest definition I can, the highest quality, because my clients go, I want to put it on my website. 6 months later, they're like, can you make a DVD out of that? And I'm like, oh, well, I've got to go and redo it all. If I've got like a master file in the highest resolution possible, then it can be used in other applications. So for us, we're going to use QuickTime, and we'll call it, what do we call it? Viral verse branded. Put in movies. Now, we'll put it on the desktop so it's easier to find when we upload it. Now, it'll have default settings, which you can use. I'll just run you into these really quickly, what happens if you go into options. Now, the things you need to worry about here generally are just settings, size, and you can play around with the sound. But if we go into settings, if you see on the right-hand side here, this is telling you what it's going to be doing, how it's going to be exporting at the moment. So the compression is H.264. H.264 is the most widely recognized, used video compression, especially moving forward. It's a very good codec. That's what it's called, a codec. And because it compresses things, but it also keeps a high level of quality. It's like the Tower of Babel, though. There are millions, or not millions, there are lots and lots and lots of different codecs and ways to do things. A safe bet is H.264. That's why it defaults to it. That's the engine behind YouTube as well. That's what they use. And it's governed by a body that is always trying to improve it as well. So if you do need to change it around, you go in here. You've got these different choices, MPEG-4, all that kind of stuff. Just leave it. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. If you want to find out more, just have a chat with me in the break or things like that.
And YouTube it.
Yeah, and YouTube.
If you search on YouTube, just about any question you've got, someone's created a tutorial to explain it. So it's a good place.
Yeah. Generally, it'll default to the current frame rate. That's at the frame rate at which the camera recorded the information. And really, you don't need to change anything unless you want it to be, just say you want to do a little test. You're like, I'm not ready to publish it. I want to test it and see what it looks like. You might do it at a lower quality. But generally, you leave it best quality multipass, which means it'll go through it a few times when it's encoding it. High resolution. Now, Steve, I know you wanted to know about this, like the right things to do for streaming on the internet. Generally, this will be fine. If you need to play around with it, you start to restrict it here in the actual the rate, the data rate. I wouldn't go much lower than 800. You want to go as high as possible. Around 1200's great, but if you're in a situation where it has to be really restricted, if you're hosting it on your own site or something, but generally if you're hosting it on YouTube and then you, pardon?
S3.
Yeah, S3.
Yeah.
You can do it at a higher rate because it's a bigger server.
To build on this, a couple of things as well. Ben, being the video guy, when he exports out, he goes under QuickTime area. For me, I don't understand a lot of these settings as well as he does. Yeah. So what I do is I go into export as movie, and you'll see that that's another way you can do it in iMovie, and everything's preset for you. Just for now, when you do it this way that Ben's talking about, it's best to just sit on those the standards, and then I use the export movie, and you can set the size and a few other different options. as Ben said, always export out at the highest quality. And then later on when we get to the tools section, Rob's going to talk a little bit about the way that they encode videos for the 30-day challenge, or the challenge.co now. And he uses encoding.com. And basically it's an in-the-cloud encoder where you upload your large size video and then you select what it is that you're going to be you want that output for. So you might select YouTube, you might select iPhone, you might select, you know, streaming on the web. You can select a whole lot of things. That's a really good way to go as well. But as Ben said, for YouTube, in this particular example, better to just export out higher, because YouTube's going to re-encode it anyway, and it's going to be in a good quality thing. So for me personally, not being the video guy, you either get a really star player video guy, or just export it out at the highest quality and let the service do it. Just for timing wise, I know Rob will go into, in the tools section, we'll have, if you could spend some time maybe in the tools section, and we'll talk about that particular site specifically.
Yeah. Okay.